I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's.
Did the CIA write Wind of Change by the Scorpions?
As humans busied themselves about the various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied.
Dr. Loeb, what percentage chance do you give it that you have indeed uncovered extraterrestrial or non-human technology?
With infinite complacence, people went about their affairs, yet across an immense ethereal gulf, intellects vast and unsympathetic threw their plans against us.
All of a sudden, a stick out of nowhere landed right in front of us, and there was no tree, nothing overhead. Something threw it at us.
Yeah.
All things unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
Okay, Unexplained Ones, welcome back. This is Dr. Mounce, a.k.a. 718 from Beast Games, and we have a very special episode for you. We've got Beast Games Dystopia, and this is the brainchild of my co-host, CJ Derringer, and mine's pastor, who is a special co-moderator tonight, Brent Levy. And he said, you know what? He was really into Beast Games. He said, let's do an episode about Beast Games, about how dystopian it was, how it brought out different sides of you, maybe even the best, maybe even the worst of you. So that's why we're here tonight, CJ.
Yes, this is so exciting. And for anybody that hasn't watched Beast Games yet, there will be some spoilers. So keep that in mind. Go watch Beast Games. If you haven't, you are completely missing out. I will say this is the best reality game show there's maybe ever been. I don't watch TV. I could not stop watching Beast Games. Each week I was so excited for it to come on again. So if you're a huge Beast Games fan, we have some of the biggest stars from the show here with us tonight. And what a great opportunity to dive into their thinking, into their experience. Please send us your questions. We're excited to take some listener questions as we go throughout this show. So without further ado, Dr.
That's
Mounce.
right. And if you're in the chat, please say hello. Let us know you're here. I want to say a couple things real quick. All Things Unexplained will have a book coming out soon, Voices in the Shadows, about UFO whistleblowers, some groundbreaking, monumental, epic revelations about underground bases and free energy, lots of things. You will not want to miss that. Special forward by Nick Pope from Ancient Aliens. Somewhere between the podcast and my horror novel that I narrated called Killer Kudzu and Beast Games, I have been asked to do a small part in an upcoming horror movie of some sort. So we'll see how that goes. I can't give any spoilers on that. If you missed our live stream with Ross Coulthart recently on the egg UFO, at one point, CJ, we had over 10,000 people in the chat with us checking out that live stream, checking out Ross Coulthart and the egg UFO. So unfortunately,
Clearly
that has...
people want to know.
Yeah, we might have broken some rules there because they took it down off YouTube, but it's still on Twitter so far as I know. So check it out. Tonight's going to be another great episode too. So you ready to get going, CJ? Okay,
yes,
great. Well,
ready.
We'll have a little commercial and we'll be right back.
All Things Unexplained is free to watch on YouTube and listen to wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to support our show, you can visit our YouTube store. Additionally, you can find us on Venmo under All Things Unexplained. Be sure to check out our website, allthingsunexplained.com. All proceeds from the sales of Dr. Mounce's books on Amazon and Audible also go straight to our show. All right. Welcome, everybody. We're so excited to have each and every one of you. It is a big night. I love that we asked for comments, and in the private chat, Rocky, you wrote, hi. But I will let everybody know.
Hi, Rocky.
Says hi.
Hey, good to see you guys. But I feel happy to be here. I don't feel like I'm on the level of all you guys, but I love that I was invited.
We are so
Same.
glad that you are here. Awesome. Well, we've got lots of people tonight, so I want to do a real quick, just go around, tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe tell us one high and one low from your time on Beast Games. Brent, that doesn't apply to you, but you can still tell us about yourself. So David, we'll start with you.
Hey, everybody. My name is David Myers. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I work for the fire department. I am the health and wellness officer for the fire department, and I'm also the head chaplain. So I wear many hats. I'm very, very busy. I absolutely love what I do. I've been married for 26 years to my wife, Nicole.
Congrats.
And thank you. I've got 4 children, Jacob, Alex, Charlie, and Sawyer, 1 boy, 3 girls. And I honestly, honest to goodness, have no idea how I got on Beast Games. I wasn't even trying. It was
what
weird.
what made you apply? Did you apply?
I didn't apply. I got a random email one day that said, "You've been invited." That was it. No idea.
Wow.
And
Somebody
the rest is history.
put your name in the ring.
I think I
Somebody-
know. I think I know what it was. I got a little secret about David Myers. A lot of people may not know this, but this cat can ball. This guy right there can hoop, and it came out and talk about missed opportunities. There was a storyline there of some epic horse battles on the B City basketball courts.
Absolutely.
We got none of
Absolutely.
it, but David Myers can shoot some hoops.
So can you, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently,
it went to
clearly
a
Tim
finale.
told you he could, but
No, he was there. He was there.
He was draining them, sinking them threes, slam dunking.
Oh, awesome. So you made it to Beast City. What were some of the best things that happened and some of the hardest things that happened for you, David?
For me, the best thing, honest to goodness, was the people that I met. And I think that that's pretty cliche with a lot of the people that were on the show, because your odds of winning were slim to none. But I think just the connections that we made were just very genuine and authentic. And most of that was in, we were talking about it earlier on episode 0, where we really made those hard, good connections, because that's all you had time for, right? And so it was the people, for sure. I mean, I had a great time. I have a great story. My trips were paid for. We made a little bit of money, but it was the people, hands down.
Awesome.
Yeah.
David mentioned episode 0. For those of you that haven't seen it, that is not on Amazon Prime. That is on Mr. Beast's page, and it is definitely worth a watch. I think that episode 0 had the most physical challenges of any of it. And when you hear Beast Games, you think you're going to do something physical. Yeah. So next we'll have to Jeremy. Jeremy, my goodness, you had some FaceTime on this show, and boy, did you go through some intense things. So tell us a little bit about how you got there and some highs and lows for you.
Yeah, it was a wild ride. It was incredible to be a part of history. It's literally the first time anything like this has been done, this massive social experiment. So kind of like David, I got an email inviting me as well. I was in past Mr. Beast videos and was on their list of folks to contact. So we took some time and prayed about it and decided to take the summer off from guiding and living around polar bears to go try to win the Beast Games. And it was cool. And I would agree with the gentleman, like the connections of the people you met through this. I mean, Rocky, that stunning gentleman right there, I met like day 1 in Vegas. We hung out in trash bags together for hours. I mean, that's like, you can't go through it unless you go through it. And from that day on, I mean, we've been tight, and the challenges are so intense. And I do love the fact that they take away all of the other distractions and just help you focus on yourself and focus on the game.
Right.
I mean, yeah, there were highs and there were lows, but I tried to play a very honest game. And again, I spent a lot of time in prayer, and I feel like removing a lot of the daily distractions was just an amazing opportunity to hear more clearly from the Lord. And I got some hate online, but I truly stand by what I did. And if for all the haters that are still out there thinking that wasn't Lord led, my boy Gage was number 3, and my boy Jeff, watch Beast Games. So
Yeah.
Lord had it. So as far as lows go,
Yeah.
I have none, because I know I did and played the game that I was supposed to play. I wouldn't have wanted it to turn out any other way.
Well, we'll come back to the haters a little bit because I want you to have an opportunity to explain what happened on screen and what happened in real life. Also, you turned down $1 million, right? For your
Oh
team?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did that too. Huh?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
This little
so
thing.
we
That was
had a
on my
watch
team.
party,
That was
and
my
Brent,
captain.
Brent and Tim were here for the watch party, and we had a garage full of people, and I mean kids up to grown people, all watching, all on pins and needles, all screaming, "Push the button!" Like, take the money. The odds
And in
of
real
anybody
life,
else
I'm
winning
like,
this money are
don't
like,
do it.
are so slim to none. I mean, not a single one of us could believe that nobody took that money.
Well, I mean, it came down to it that I went into this game not willing to compromise who I am. I understand it's a game, and I understand that we're there to make money, but we went through a lot of stuff. We just talked about the bonds that we have from Vegas, and even platforms. And then my friends on platform or floor 4, we lost, and we were resurrected because the other team had dropped the ball, and that was an emotional roller coaster. And then we had a day to kind of relax, and we all kind of bonded even more. And when they voted me in as captain, let's go. As they voted me in as captain, there was just no way I was going to break that trust. Like, that's the stuff the balls will do.
Yes. All right, Rocky, you're having a night. You are having a night tonight. We are so happy to have you here. Tell me a little bit about your Games journey.
My name is Rocky. I'm from Sacramento, California. I was number 800. Actually, the reason why I was number 800 was because of Jeremy and Jeff. They looked after me on the flags. I'm a bigger gentleman, and I was worried. I was scared that I wasn't going to be able to get a flag. So they used the power of their persuasion and their friendship making abilities and just everything that they are as people. And they were able to, kind of help navigate me and help give me that confidence to be able to go out and get a flag. And I appreciate that. And that moment is something that I've thought about a lot when I'm having adversity in life and thinking, you can do more than you think you can. Like, you can always do more. You always think you're not able to, like, if someone would have told me we were going to be on the Beast Games and we were going to be eating chicken and we were going to be, having oatmeal and chicken and eggs and fruit every day for 3 days, barely sleeping and just bonding together, I probably would have said, nah, I'm out.
Yeah. It was the oatmeal that did it for you, huh?
I was like, man, I'm a 350-pound man. I need some meat. I need some protein. I need good places to sleep. And,
that wasn't chicken, by the way. That was not chicken. I don't know what it was.
And wait, you got fruit?
I did get a lot of fruit, actually. I got a lot of fruit. What was wild is that, so I met Jeremy, just an hour into getting into Vegas, and we became really good friends right off the bat. And then when I was in Vegas, I was struggling for a while, just trying to figure out how to kind of go through what we were going through. And he started praying for me, and we started praying a lot together. And then since I've been back, I've continued that prayer, and I just do a lot of prayer every day. And if things are getting bad, I think that there's going to be something in the future that's going to get better. And I think Jeremy helped me build on that completely. He helped me get through some stuff that was hard. I mean, that Vegas was hard. There was a lot of difficulty there. And it was hard mentally. I think it physically was, there was difficulties, but it was a mental challenge that was off camera. And man, Jeremy helped me through a lot of that. And we just became like soul brothers, and it was just fantastic. And so I'm having a little party tonight. I'm enjoying SNL, and Jeremy's texting me, hey, come talk about our experience. And I'm a few moonshines deep. And I thought, why not? It's going to be a very honest discussion, man. Very honest discussion.
Yes, absolutely. It will be an honest discussion. And a lot of what you guys have said already is why we brought Brent on. But yes, Tim.
We got something we can send Rocky, because we happen to have a very special friend who sponsors us a little bit with their product, Smoky Mountain Squatch Shine.
Oh, yeah? Oh, I would love that.
Oh, yeah, and it's strong. I guess
yeah, definitely send me some of that.
Yeah.
Strong is an understatement.
Oh, man, I am so excited. I'm more excited than ever right now.
Look, I can come over right now, Tim.
Let's do that. We had to sit pretty far from the fire pit, but let's go.
Yeah, you might go blind, but we're gonna have a good time.
A good time.
I guess we have to share. So the way I got on the show too. I never had watched Mr. Beast. I did not know Mr. Beast. I just wasn't part of that YouTube community. What I was part of was Hustler Casino Live. So I knew everybody. Like, I have friends that run that, and I was really part of all that. One of them had messaged me and said, "Hey, Mr. Beast plays with us, and he's got a new show coming out. You like game shows. You're a very personable person. Could we have someone email you?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I thought it was something small. I didn't know it was anything big. I thought it was just, a couple buddies getting together and we're going to go do something, So I did like a little video chat with them. Like, "Oh, we'd love to bring you on. It's for $5 million. And I was like, "Oh, what?" I thought it was a group of like 10 people. I thought we were going to hang out, man.
That's so awesome. That is great. Thanks for sharing that, Rocky. All right, Tim, tell us a little bit about your experience.
Oh, well, so CJ knows I got on as a joke. My son, he's 10. He told me about, man, Mr. Beast, he's having a new game show. It's going to be the biggest one ever with the biggest prize ever. I thought he probably was in error on that. And I Googled it. I should have known. No, it's true. So I said, man, it would be funny if I applied for that. And I did apply 1 week later. And by the way, that was in July. 1 week later, my phone rings. It's a producer from LA. And I rejected it the first time. So it said LA. I'm like, no, nobody calling me from LA. Yeah. I rejected it the first time and went to voicemail. And then I got a text from the number. I said, okay, and they were like, "Hey, you want to be on the Beast Games?" And I said, "Well, okay, let's go." So on Beast Games, I ended up. I don't know if it was the fact that sometimes I talk to people about very strange topics, like alien human hybrids and Bigfoot, or if it was the fact that they needed another male of my age and demographic. I don't know. That may have had something to do with it, but there I was. And you know what? Like I was saying, I tell everybody, hey, go to Amazon Prime when you're ready, but first go to Mr. Beast's YouTube channel. Check out episode 0 because we made it through the first 1,000 cuts on there. And we went through, I dare say, more physical and psychological situations in Vegas because we had no idea what was happening to us. We didn't even know how many of us it was going to be. And we didn't know where we were going. Next thing, we didn't know we were going to end up in Allegiant Stadium until our bus pulled up in the parking lot of Allegiant Stadium. Like, well, guess we're going to Allegiant Stadium. And so it was pretty fantastic, my experience there. And by the way, the link to episode 0 is in the show description. So check that out when you get a chance. And CJ, it was just amazing. I tell people it wasn't always fun, but it was always quite the experience. That's for sure.
Yes, it sure looked like it. And part of me is like, maybe I'll apply for the next one, but it's not so easy for me to get away at the drop of a hat. But maybe. Okay, so the catalyst for this entire show was Brent. Brent was watching Beast Games with us and just thought, gosh, what does this say about our society in general? Watching Jeremy talk about faith and religion and watching how others reacted to that. I know Brent had just so many questions. And so now I'm going to throw it to Brent. You can introduce yourself to us for a little bit, and I'm going to let you take over with the roundtable.
Oh my gosh. Well, feel free to hop in, please, at any point. Also, hey everybody, this is so fun for me. You have gone from my big screen to my smaller screen and small squares on my smaller screen. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we watched it at CJ in CJ's garage, and I just had so many questions, and I felt so much like internal tension with you, for you, and Jeremy, especially listening to you talking about your faith and the ways that played into it. One of my passions is that blend between that space between the holy and the quote unquote ordinary, right? The sacred and the secular. And so I'm always looking for those parallels, those connections between the sacred and the secular. By the way, I'm a pastor, I'm a spiritual director, I'm a Beast Games viewer, I'm not a contestant. But I first learned about it when Tim this summer at church, and one of our greeting times like came up to me and was like, "Hey, so I'm gonna be on a show," just like super casual, super. He's like, "You can't tell anybody I'm gonna be on a show," and I said, "I won't." Pastoral confidentiality. I think I can tell people now, right? Right, Tim?
I think it's pretty cool now.
Okay, good. I'm good with that. All right. I should have asked before that.
NDA.
Before we can cut this part out.
So many ideas.
But no, I'm just so curious. Like, for each of you, did you feel that same tension throughout, or were you too kind of caught up in it? What was that like as you were playing? I mean, Jeremy, I'd love to start with you and hear your take on that. I mean, there's that the episode that CJ referenced as well was a key moment, but there were so many others. These themes of betrayal and greed and and so how do you navigate that?
Yeah, like I said, I went in fully intending just to continue to be myself. I'm not going to be bought, and I'm not going to change the kind of person I am. And I was actually really, really encouraged because even in Vegas, every game is literally a $5 million game. So it's natural to want to seek wisdom and guidance and prayer and just, Lord, calm my nerves, just help me stay focused, help me, be a light and just not to let this get to me. And I started praying alone. And the next thing I know, other people are looking for prayer. And now there's 2 or 3 of us or 14 of us or how many. And again, I'm just kind of going around, just playing my game, being friendly. And it was really well received. I mean, I remember for flags, I'm screaming prayer over about 300 people just to help us calm down, to work together, to not have this be a selfish game where we're just going to stab each other in the back for our own well-being. But if we can look at each other and we can respect each other, we can work together as a team and we can all get a flag. And like 300 of us did. A couple of people would cut the line and steal something, but we got, Rocky across. We got a 75-year-old woman across. We got someone with a really bad leg, someone blind in their left eye. Like, we got people across. Like, the Lord put it on my heart. He's like, love on my people. And I'm like, I'm here. All right, Lord. And I remember just praying, and it was like, when flag 1000 goes out, that's my time to go. And I got 991. And as we all know, the number that we grabbed kind of made some big decisions in our game. So I feel like that was Lord led, and I'm not someone that strives to spend massive amounts of time around a lot of people. Like, I love people, but I'm more of a drop me in the wilderness, go live with some polar bears. I live in Maine, like backwoods. So for me, like that's my personality. And in between Vegas and the Beast Games, I end up flying all the way up to Nome, Alaska. And I'm working on some project there and fly right from Nome right into the Beast Games. And it took some warming up to go from tracking grizzlies to playing this game again. So again,
that's wild. That is wild.
So I'm just, starting in prayer. Like, Lord, help me open up to this situation. Let me be present for this incredible opportunity where you've brought me. And again, on platforms, super well received. We had time in between where people were being eliminated and before they would actually get dropped. And again, I just run around and be praying for people. Like, the Lord has better plans. Like, that $5 million is great, but like, they're shattered right now. And it's like, but listen, the Lord loves you and he's got plans for you. And that's what the Lord kept putting on my heart. And it was one of these things, again, you remove a lot of the other distractions. And if you make a conscious choice to look at each other with love, instead of just being like, that money is mine for my family, my community, forget you. No, we all have that desire. And like, whoever this goes to, if we can all lift each other up, someone good is going to win this thing. If we can set a vibe and a tone that we care for each other and we're not going to play the game that they want us to play, but we're going to play this game with respect. And again, there's free will and people are going to do what they're going to do. But that was what I was going to play for the game. And it served me really, really well. And I made some incredible friends and some incredible bonds. And every step of the way, I mean, 4-4, Tim, after we lost, what did we do? We prayed. After we won, what did we do? We prayed. Lord, thank you for resurrecting us from the dead, and just be with those that just lost. Like, we know the heart of what it is to feel like that your dream just got ripped out from you. So again, when I went up to the bribe for Team Yellow, it was the same thing. Like, I went up and the Lord had these people on my heart. I felt the feeling of the Holy Spirit in a way that I don't often feel. And there was zero temptation to take the money. You see me turn around and look. I'm like, what does this screen even look like at 967,000? Because they're screaming and hollering. I'm like, I don't even need to look. I've given these people my word. I'm looking down. I'm seeing Tim. I'm seeing Daphne. I'm seeing my buddy Jeff. I'm seeing these true people. Dallin and Tim is there, and Jordan is there. Like, the game would have been totally different, and I would have needed to go home to my children.
Yeah.
With more money in our pocket, but to go, hey, Dad won $1 million, but I had to sacrifice these other people's dreams, and I had to compromise my word. I had to break my word, and I had to break their trust. So how you get ahead in life is you stab people in the back and you lie to them. And that was nothing that I was going to bring home to my family, and the value for my 3 daughters and my son that hopefully can go out and represent that same lifestyle. And understand, like, nah, that's $1 million choice that he did for a lesson for us. And again, the leading of the Lord. Like, my buddy Jeff and his son have been on my heart since the moment I met him. We were tight in Vegas, and I said, Jeff, I'll do whatever I can to help you and your boy, and just to love on you and your family. And again, we get to cubes. That's stressful, but I picked 2 men of high integrity. We're supposed to be turning on each other. It's like, nope. There's no free pass because I turned down $1 million. We're going to sit in this cube as men, and we're just going to fellowship. We're going to share our stories. The first thing we did is we took our shoes off and had an ugly foot competition. And we're like, look, we're going to put like 15 years of bonding into 5 hours. And
do you ask for a manicure? I mean, a pedicure at that point?
I should have.
You got the tattoo, right, Jeremy?
Yeah. So I got a tattoo. We played
guitar. Are we able to see that, Jeremy? I still haven't seen that in person yet.
Well, not at the moment. But
can you send me a saucy picture later of your tattoo?
Can you put it in the show notes?
I've got an Instagram post with it on it where I show it off. But so again, like an impulsive tattoo, and one of the first things I asked for was a Bible. And I'm studying through the Bible, and I'm reading everybody their numbers, and I'm studying through Psalms, and I read Psalm 91, and I just felt that overwhelming comfort. And, we prayed together as men after we cried together for each other's families and our desires to use this money to help each other's community. And we said, we're going to flip a coin, and wherever that lies, we're going to be men of our word, and we're going to do that. And I asked to flip last, and my buddy Gage flipped tails, and Mark flipped heads. So even before I touched the coin, the Lord had preserved me. You can call it luck, you can call it whatever you want, but I know each step of the way, the Lord was leading and guiding me. So I flipped the coin, and that's what saved Gage. Then he got tails, and he continued his game.
I think you bring up something really powerful about the show, which is, it feels like Mr. Beast didn't necessarily set it up to demonstrate the redemptive aspects of humanity. At every turn, there's betrayal, there is greed, there is a twist, and how many times in the show does he use the word brutal? Right, this is going to be brutal. It
is a joke, but we say that constantly.
Yeah. And yet, right, the moments that you're describing, the moments that me as a viewer, I was most surprised was when it didn't go that way. Right, when, as CJ you referenced earlier, like everyone held and didn't take the money. Those moments when those bonds felt unbreakable. Those were the moments for me that felt redemptive, in the same way that, the world can often feel like it's bombarding us with bad news at every turn, and the breaking news alerts that come across our phones, and it feels sometimes like we're living in a dystopian universe. And yet it's those moments of goodness, those moments of beauty, those moments of truth that just kind of break through it. That's what takes our breath away so often. And so I wonder, Rocky, David, Tim, what some of those moments were for you as you were competing. And Jeremy, of course, feel free to pop in as well.
I think for me, back to episode 0, right after the boulder pool. Okay. I don't remember what team you guys were on. I was on Team Yellow.
Pink.
And Team Yellow was probably the most, I mean, we were a mess, right? We were just a mess. And they didn't show any of that on the actual episode. And that's the other thing too. I think there was so much gold that wasn't shown in the show. And I get it, right? Much. Yeah, because there's 2,000 people. How are you going to do 2,000 silhouettes and 2,000 profiles? It's basically impossible. However, there was so much gold that was missed. But for me, after the boulder pool, our team was in complete disarray, and everyone was just, yeah, I'm the team leader. No, I'm going to be the team leader. No, screw you. I'm going to do it. Yada, yada, yada. So after that game, we had a Team Yellow team meeting. And so I said, okay, whatever, I'll walk over there. And people are just at each other's throats. I mean, I walked over there and it was yucky. Like I felt it in my bones. I felt it in my spirit. Like I was like, I want nothing to do with that. That's gross. And as soon as I turned and left, because I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to just walk around because I didn't know anybody. I'm just going to walk around and we'll see what happens. As soon as that happened, my friend Emily, she grabs me by the arm and she says, come with me, come with me. And she takes me to the middle of Allegiant Stadium and we sit down and we just begin to talk, just her and I. And as we're talking, we're starting to see people that are sensing that same thing. Like, that was really gross and we want nothing to do with that. And so we started picking people off like, hey, come sit with us. Hey, you come sit with us. Hey, come sit with us. And we're not going to give our energy to whatever this is. We're just going to sit here, get to know each other, kind of what Jeremy was saying, like just fellowship, right? And so unbeknownst to us, we start picking these people off. And so I'm the health and wellness officer for the fire department. So I work a lot in mental health and behavioral health in that world, right? Emily was a mindfulness coach. One of my best friends, Chelsea, she's a yoga instructor. Derek was a pastor. My buddy Nick was always the one that would lead us in prayer every morning. And Robert and everybody, Raven, just naming all these people, right? We started forming this really cool bond. And every night we would sleep in a circle and our heads would be in the middle and the producers would walk by and they'd be like, you guys look like sunflowers. I don't know if you know this, but you look like sunflowers. And so we ended up calling us the Sunflowers, our little group. But every single morning we would wake up and we would do a mindfulness breath work session. And then we would move into like a yoga flow. And then Nick would lead us in prayer, right? And it was just like people would come in, just kind of like what Jeremy was saying. Hey, can I be a part of this? Can I just sit in here with you? Because again, everybody around you is just chaotic. Everything is chaos. And I thought it was weird because I'm like, guys, these are children.
Was that by design? Do you think, was that by design?
100%, 100%. And if you watch some of those little documentaries that they show of like creating the games, that's exactly what they wanted. They wanted the drama. They want the chaos. They want all of that nonsense, right? But us as this little group, we were like, we're not going to give our energy to this stuff. Again, they're children's games. Just like people are like racing and like hurting themselves and like training. And I'm like, stop. So let them explain the game. And then the 5 minutes prior to the game, we'll figure out a strategy. The strategies aren't that hard. But in the meantime, because again, what you saw on TV, like we would play a game and the game was maybe 30 seconds. And then you would wait 18 hours and for the next game, right? Yeah. So it was just exhausting mentally, right?
The magic of Hollywood.
Absolutely. So every morning we just sat and we just got to get to know each other. And we didn't even know what each other's, jobs were. We just got to know each other as people. And I truly just fell in love with these human beings. And we're just kind of sitting around looking at like, why are we here? Like, what is the point of this? This is crazy. I remember at the flag game, Rocky, I sat back and I was like, I'm going to let people just self-eliminate for the first few hours, kind of see how the game plays, and then I'm going to go in and just kind of get what's mine or whatever. So I get to the front of the line, and they put 771 right in front of me, and I called it. And that was the game on our side. It was like, if you call it and it's right in front of you, just that makes sense, right?
Yep.
And so 2 weeks prior to the games, I had hurt my back really bad. And I was like, oh God, is my broken body going to work? Like, I don't know. And sure enough, they say go, and I take off, and I'm like, whoa. And I'm like looking down at myself like, oh my God, my body's working. Like, I want to see the replay of that, because I'm sure it shows a 46-year-old with a broken body like, oh God. But I felt amazing.
You felt a lot cooler than you looked, I'm sure. Yeah.
100%.
One of those moments. Yeah.
Yeah. It was wild.
I would second that. Like, out of all
Chariots
the games,
of Fire playing in the background. Yeah, sorry.
Out of all the
Dun,
games
dun,
I
dun,
played,
dun,
like
dun.
grabbing that flag was the best.
So yeah, and so I grabbed my flag, and unbeknownst to me, there's a GoPro on the bottom of it. And I don't curse all that often. I mean, I work in the fire service, but you can ask the guys, they make fun of me. I don't curse all that much, but I grab it, and just that sense of elation. Like, if this is the feeling, like winning the World Series or a Super Bowl, I feel like that's kind of how this feeling was just for me. I don't know. I can't speak for you guys, but I grabbed that flag, and I was like, yes, right. I was so pumped up. And I went to the winner's circle, and I'm holding the flag, and I'm just like, where am I? What am I? I have children. I have a job. Like, I'm in Raiders Stadium playing these weird games. It was just so surreal. Again, I have no idea how I got on the show, but I'm just so deeply honored that I was there to share this, experience. Just like what you were saying, Brett, in these liminal spaces between sacred and holy. And I felt like I was there most of the time, but mostly with the people that were there and the connections that we made. It was powerful. And people make fun of me because I turned down a lot of money, especially on the the game right before we went to the city, where you could take $100,000 but eliminate your team. I could have done that 3 times. So when I got home, everybody was like, why did you take the money? Yeah. And I was like, I told them I wouldn't. And so I'm a man of my word, and I didn't do it. And, my wife was like, we could have gone to Scotland again. But
that's Scott just calling your name.
That's right. But it was phenomenal. I have no regrets. Just like Jeremy, no regrets.
Good.
There's about four events that like in my head will just live forever. So first off, in Vegas, there's this briefcase game we all play. If you remember the briefcase game, I have a very, very good memory, like a fantastic memory. So I was able to memorize the entire board in like 3, 5, 10 seconds. So me and some of the people near me, we just walked to where we were going to go. It was simple, easy. But there was a lot of people who ran to their stuff, knocked people over, and they had to go to other places. They were just displaced. And they had to go. In my section, a few people walk over and they go to their places. There's this guy named Skylar who goes to the wrong one. It's an elimination briefcase. I have memorized the entire board, so I told him to move over to the one that I knew was safe. I knew that one was safe. I'd never met the guy before. He put his full faith in me. He did it. Came over to me, gave me a big hug, and I prayed for him. And I said, hey, man, I want to make sure all the best get through. You seem like a really nice guy. I want to make sure that you get through. And I still talk to him to this day. And he still brings up the fact that, he's not religious. He doesn't believe. But he said in that moment, man, it made him believe a little bit. So, and in that moment, you go, hey, if you can do some good to some people around you, it's wild how far that will go in their head. Just how far that will go for however long it is. And he's just a great guy. That guy's fantastic. I'm so happy I got to meet him. But it was just in the weirdest way. It was just, I had memorized where to go, and I wanted to make sure he went to that right place. And he didn't believe me. He was begrudgingly going over to the other place, but I told him, hey, I have your back, man. Trust me. I want you to go through. So that moment lasts in my head forever. I mean, that moment, just the feeling on his face, knowing, wow, there's good people. Like, there's good people here that want to see people succeed. That was just a wonderful moment for me. So,
Rocky, I believe you. And I do wonder if it's you and Skylar at the very end, just the two of you. Skylar, is that right?
Yeah.
$5 million on the line. Do you have that same approach, or is it?
So what's funny is
What's
Skylar and
going
I,
on
we've talked a lot of times throughout the show. Not to, I don't know if you want me to say this, but we watched the $1 million thing when everyone didn't take their $1 million, and he already said, "Hey, Rock, I love you, but I would have taken the $1 million. I would have seen you go out. I would have, I love you, brother, but there's just no way I could have gone through and not taken that money to help out my life and my future and everything like that. So it's hard. I mean, everyone always asks me, like, people ask me even on the bribe, like, a lot of my friends, a lot of people I know in my life don't understand why I wouldn't have taken the $80,000 bribe. I get that all the time. I got eliminated on the bribe challenge. Just sadly what I got eliminated on.
Okay.
The girl who took the money, I made friends with every day. She was very one of those kind of loner type of girls. So I invited her to eat with us. I made friends with her. I made sure she made friends with everybody I knew. I made sure she always felt welcomed. And when she eliminated me on the bribe, she looked at me, she started crying, and she just looked at me and said, I'm really sorry. You are one of the nicest, kindest people I've met. And I need the money. I got it. I need the money. I need it for school. I need it for stuff. And so it's hard because people ask me afterwards, why wouldn't you do the same thing? Why wouldn't you take that money? And all I said was, I told people I wouldn't. So it's just hard because it still hurts. It still hurt afterwards, to be honest. It hurt for a few weeks afterwards. But there was a guy named Weston who was on my row, and he's just this wonderful 18-year-old Christian kid. And I made a promise to him when we were on the bus, and I just said, hey, I'm not going to screw you over. You don't screw me over. And he said, yeah, of course not. And we prayed together. And then I'm looking at him on that row, and I said, I can't do it. I wouldn't do it to him. And after she eliminated us, I looked over at him and I gave him a wink, and he looked at me. We both came over and we prayed with her. We just said, hey, I hope your life's amazing. I hope you do everything you want to do with this money. And me and Wes looked at each other and we said, this is what God would want. So, it was hard. That was a hard moment because I was pretty upset. I'm not going to lie. I was really upset. I was having a really hard time with it. And then I just kind of thought to Jeremy and I thought to Weston, Ozzy, these wonderful guys I've met throughout that had this heart that said, hey, forgive people, move forward. No matter what's going on in your life, no matter what you're doing, you might not understand it and it might hurt really bad, but boy, God's got a reason why he's doing the things he's doing. There is stuff that's going to be happening in the future that you're not even going to understand why the moment is as hard as it is, and it's going to be so wonderful in the future. So I just, that resonated with me ever since Vegas. And so, but yeah, we prayed for her. We made sure everyone else, just made sure she was taken care of. We made sure she got on the bus safe. We made sure she got home safe. We just were there for her. And yeah, it was hard. I mean, it was hard, especially watching everybody go so far. I mean, all my best friends on the show all made it to the top 50. Yeah. So, it was a rough go, but there's got to be a reason why. In those moments, you got to be able to show kindness and forgiveness to people. Otherwise, I don't know. Can you really say that you believe in the faith? So it's hard. That was a hard moment. That was it still is a hard moment. Me and my girlfriend are struggling financially harder than we ever have, but I know it was the right thing to do. So, but it was hard.
Yeah, we were all heartbroken to see it go so early. But again, we know the Lord's plan is better. And sometimes, having that much money isn't what we need. And got other things he needs to teach us in other ways. And again, the bonds and friendships, we're homies for life, dude.
Yeah, we are.
With us, Rocky.
You know what's wild? What's wild is what I hear the most is, why wouldn't you take the bribe? You don't know these people. The problem is that they showed on the show like we knew each other for a day or 2 days. Like everyone keeps going, well, you don't really know this guy. Why wouldn't you do it? And I have to keep explaining, we went through something wild in Vegas together, like something that's hard to explain to people because it doesn't seem real almost.
Right. And the dystopian aspect, yes, the dystopian aspect was more so in the Vegas games because again, it was
1,000%.
You're sleeping on the ground. You're eating literally the worst food you've ever had in your life, but that's all you had to eat. And then the bathroom situation, nobody bathed. We all stunk. Nobody saw the sun for a week. It was like, what is happening?
Dude,
It was wild.
Jeremy on day one was like, "Hey, every time they give you this food, eat it and be happy and thankful it's there." And he said that to me on day one. He said, "No matter what they feed you, be happy, be thankful, eat all of it, and just be nourished because that's going to be enough that you need to get through the day."
Yeah.
And I didn't believe him for 2 days, but
Right.
by day three, like I could have gone a couple more days, to be honest.
Day
I know a lot of
when you were
people
starting, yeah.
like got to a point where you're like, oh, I could do this. I almost wished more of the show was me just like surviving like 300 more people in Vegas because I could have done it. I really could have done it.
The other thing I thought was funny.
Yeah, I saw them overnight oats, and eventually I was like, hey, if I'm happy and I know it, clap my hands. Overnight oats. Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in that first Mr. Beast video I was in, we were in a circle for 12 days.
You stood for 24 hours?
Yeah, it was like 30, actually.
Oh, sorry. I was moonshine and plus
they gave
surprise.
us just nasty, salty oatmeal and a protein shake for like 10 days. So it was like going into Vegas, I was like, yeah, no, this is par for the course. But in the circle before, too, we didn't have sleeping bags. And they'd crank the industrial AC, and we're sleeping.
Oh, and
right
the
on
bugs!
concrete,
You told me the bugs would get you
beetles
too.
running all around and eating. It was like, so getting to Vegas, I was like, no, this is chill.
And that's the thing too, right? Like as miserable as it was, like has for all the people complaining, like has nobody done anything difficult in their lives? Like
seriously,
what?
I thought gone camping?
When I see that
There's also the
lawsuits
trauma
and the
bonding
complaints,
that's happening too.
all I think to myself is, man, this is the most first world problem you could possibly have in your entire life. You're eating every day. You're doing okay. You're just uncomfortable, like mildly uncomfortable. I don't know. It was a wild. Some of the people who have commented and they've asked me like, "Oh man, you're gonna get in that lawsuit? You're gonna do it?" And I'm like, no. I'm thankful for the experience. And I think I grew as a person. I'm glad I was uncomfortable for 3 days.
Right.
So.
I would argue that there were a lot of contestants that have not done anything hard in their lives. I mean, if you think about, there's a generation that spends their entire life on screens and possibly went on to Beast Games because they had watched a lot of screens. There's a good chance that they haven't camped before or been around bugs or done anything difficult.
Maybe, but I do think a lot of the people who went through it, we're all. I think a lot of us are better off for it. I mean, a lot of us, we grew a lot in those times, and a lot of the people I've talked to who struggled and had a hard time, we can look back at it and laugh. We look back after day one, you're using a water bottle as a pillow, and you're like, day one, you're laughing so hard about how silly it is, and day two, you're like, man, this is comfortable.
Yeah. We had our little screening at my house, just some friends and families. And I had my my fanny pack that they gave us, right, with all the accoutrements or whatnot. And so right before I did a stupid little video of, hey, I got my jersey on, I got my Feastables, I got my Prime. Here we go. We're gonna watch the Beast Games. And I opened up the fanny pack, and I had totally forgotten, but there was a whole thing of dude wipes, and I was totally triggered all over again.
Got it. You know what? To be fair, I did not like the dude wipes. I wasn't a big dude wipe guy. I don't know, Jeremy. I don't know if you remember. You might. We were on day 3. We were waiting. We were getting out of the. After we had done our briefcase, we were the first one on Pink Team, and then we had to wait. 12 hours probably to get everybody else done with their briefcase games. And I was sitting there like, oh, I'm pretty hungry. I don't really like the chocolate. They keep giving us free chocolate the whole time, the Feastables. And then you're like, hey, there's this really good one. Do you want to try it? And I was like, yeah, sure. And you went and got it for me. And then you started feeding me chocolate. And I'll always remember just getting... just you dropping little pieces of chocolate into my mouth like I was a baby bird. Like you were the big condor, and you were giving Rock some little chocolate drops.
Nice.
Also, Tim, another thing. One of my other favorite moments on the show I ever had during the block challenge. The block. It's so much different than how it's shown. It really is. So when we did it, they said at first, hey, after 10 minutes, we're going to play a game. We're going to get people eliminated. We're going to play some dodgeball, things like that. And then so many people got eliminated that people were able to survive. My blocks fell 5 seconds, maybe. 5 seconds into it. I mean, they fell as fast as humanly possible. And I thought, okay, well, I'm out. This is it. So, I'm crying and I'm like looking after other people and I'm, ready for it. And then finally we get to the point where we all have to see if we got eliminated or not. I've just been yelling to Tim across the way. I'm just joking with them, saying little things, whatever. And then I thought I was going red and I didn't go red. I survived. I couldn't believe it. I could see Jeremy still yelling and screaming way down the line. I jumped off my platform. I had never actually gotten close by Tim at all. I wouldn't give him a big old hug. I wouldn't give a big old bear hug. I picked him up and I'm giving him a big old hug. I'm like, dude, I made it. I can't believe it. I'm like crying, snot's coming out of my nose probably.
Nice.
And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, oh yeah, that's pretty good, man. That's pretty good. And I go back to my thing and I was like, I'm sorry, Tim. I know we just met. So
I was probably thinking
that's a moment that lives so rent-free in my rent-free. What's that?
I was probably thinking, don't knock down the tower, please. I was so proud of the tower. Honestly, that was my most proud moment of the whole show was the tower, because in my mind, that was literally my most individual moment was the tower.
That was a hard moment, yeah.
It was hard. It was quite. I built my tower from my butt, sitting on my butt. I also had a paranormal experience doing that tower. But Rocky, I'm so glad you said that. That made my night. I'm telling you, I've bragged on that tower so often since the show. I can't believe you remembered that. And just for that, Rocky, I got something I'm gonna be sending your way.
Yeah,
our friend Tracy Arvin, a little Smoky Mountain squat shine. So Tracy, I'm gonna be contacting you. And our friend Tracy here, he had a Sasquatch encounter as a youth, not a ute, but a youth, and walking to the school bus, and I identify with that, and it later on inspired him to come up with Smoky Mountain Squat Shine. So 90 proof, Rocky, I'm going to be sending.
Oh, I can't wait. I'll live taste it, and I'm gonna send you my reactions, Tim.
Hey, no, let me know. I'll live taste it with you.
Yeah, you want to? Oh, I'll do it with you.
It's like some bonus content there for you.
And Brent, they're in. I'll just send it to everybody. David, you're getting some squat shine. Jeremy, squat shine.
I'm in.
On the way to you. But yeah, I actually.
Like Oprah.
Yeah.
The Oprah of Squatch moonshine.
Here it comes, everybody. I loved your impersonation of me, by the way. That was pretty spot on. It's either me or Tim Burchett. I'm not sure.
It wasn't good. I'm sorry, Dr. Squatch. I didn't mean to, man. I'm sorry.
So I'm curious, if you had a second chance to compete, would you do anything differently?
For me,
any of you?
What's wild is, so when I got home, I told the girlfriend about what had happened. She told me
she's still your girlfriend.
Yeah, she's still my girlfriend.
Okay. All right.
So what's wild? We were fighting a lot because this last year has been rough. I had my father pass. I had some bad things happen with my mom. It's been a rough year. So we had been fighting a lot. It was just, everything was going wrong. I went to the Beast Games. I came back and I told her what had happened. And she told me, to much my surprise, she said, if you would have taken the money, I don't think I would have known who you were as a person. I thought I knew who you were. If you would have taken the money, her dad and her mom are all very good people. They're very, very, they wouldn't hurt a fly to get over in life. And when I told her whole family what happened, her dad was like, hey, I'm proud of you. He's like, she's like, I wouldn't want a son-in-law who would do the same thing. I wouldn't want somebody who would screw people over for money. $80,000 that's not enough to hurt people for. So, and it was a weird thing because me and her have been a lot closer since. We've been a lot closer. She really understood what had happened. I mean, it's hard. She still wishes I made money from the show and all that. But when we look back and she asked me the same thing. She said, well, what would you have changed differently? If you would have taken money in the beginning, you would have been insufferable because you would have said, what would have happened if I would have stayed on the show? I would have been miserable bothering her nonstop about that question. And she said, if I would have taken the $80,000 to hurt people, I would have been a hypocrite because I told her I wouldn't be that type of person. So she said, you would have done that. And then I would have said, well, is that a person I can trust? Because you would have never, ever, I would have never thought you would have done that. So we look at it and we look back and trust. I've had dreams. I've had dreams and dreams and dreams.
Oh, sure.
about what I would have done differently in that show.
Right.
And I don't know, honestly, in real time if I would have. In hindsight, I would have taken the $20,000 in the beginning of the show. I would have taken that not to hurt nobody. But if I knew what I knew now, I would have done it. But if I would have done that in the time, Jeremy would have gotten calls from me nonstop for 5 months about why. Well, I missed out on the TV show. I would have done this. I could have done this. You know, I host trivia for a living. So when I see all the trivia related stuff, I'm like, oh, I would have crushed it. So, you know, I look back and I guess I wouldn't have changed anything. I mean, and honestly, the girl who got me eliminated, it took me a while to like really, really, really forgive her. In the moment I said I did, but you know, I want to be honest with myself. It still took me a little while, but I look through it and I've talked to Jeremy about this. You look through, she made more money than people like what, like 80%, 90% of the top 150. Like she made more money than like any of us here. And you look at it and you're like, hey, you know, good for her. I mean, good. You're not making money on the show unless you do it. And I'm, you know, I look back, I'm happy with her. We've talked many times since then. And you know, good for her. I mean, honestly, that was the only way to make money on the show, really. So, I mean, good for her. I mean, you know, she did something that's going to help her out. She's going to school. She's able to pay off her debt. And, yeah, it's just, I don't know if I would have done anything differently because I would have been a horrible person. I would have been insufferable if I did.
Brett, I think for me, initially going in, so I had a timetable in Vegas. I had a chaplain one-day event where I host all the Metro chaplains in the city to a little thing that I host. And I had to do a wedding that next day and a few other things, right? So
while you were in Vegas?
Yes. So going into
weddings, David? Oh, that'd be nice.
I do. So going into Vegas.
That down here.
Hey, I do too, Rocky. I'm just saying.
So going into Vegas,
you guys can all take turns doing my wedding. Jeremy can do a little bit of it. David.
No, make them do a challenge. Make them do a
yeah,
challenge.
We'll do it together for the highest
wedding. Who officiates my wedding? Let's see.
That's awesome. But going into Vegas, I had a window. I was like, I have to leave on Monday. I have to. So my strategy, I told my wife this, I said, I don't know these people, right? And this is a game show for money and like go in there and get what's yours and then leave, right? And so that was my strategy. Like if there was a bribe, I was just going to take it because I have to go.
Yeah.
But what I didn't realize was everybody was leaving on Monday. So I was able to shift my strategy and then just play the game. And so now from then on out, I was able to, okay, my strategy from here on out is I want to go as far as I can go without hurting other people, without screwing other people over. Because again, everyone's like, why didn't you just take the money? And I'm like, it's different when you're there.
It's so different. So different.
So that was me. It was early on, Brent. It wasn't like, what would you do different? I think I would play the same way. Like if David, here's $500,000 and you leave right now, I'm like later. But if it's like, here's $500,000 and you screw over a bunch of people, I don't know if I would have done that. I mean, maybe, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's a game show.
Certainly
and
there's a
people
lot
are
of
there for money.
variables at play too. Yeah, right.
So
what about you, Jeremy? Oh, sorry. You still going, Jeff? David, sorry about that.
No. Go ahead.
I mean, my biggest regret.
You know, it's wild because we see you not take the million, Jeremy. And I know you very well. I know everything that's going on behind the scenes. So is there any moments, is there any time you just wish you did? Or is there any time that you would do differently or what?
I mean, my only regret is I had the opportunity to eliminate Tim and I didn't take it. I should have just said, nope, I don't want the money. Get Tim out and let's move on with the show.
Welcome to my world, Jeremy. Think about that every day.
That was because the next day I turned down the $1 million and then that boy just beat me up across the corner.
No, I think I froze.
I didn't stand a chance. Our team just kept losing time after time. Tim's not even looking, thrown behind his head.
Another missed opportunity of a storyline with the cornhole.
I know, they really missed out. I don't have any regrets of how I played. I wouldn't change anything. I do wish they would have changed some of the editing though to show some of the true moments in Vegas, in the city. where there was just this mass opportunity again, just to show more of that bonding and camaraderie, where, you know, there was some still people stabbing each other in the back, but overall the vibe was just so full of love and respect. And I feel like they missed a lot of that, where they highlight the very minimal drama that there was early on. You know, in the city, when those 250 people left, there wasn't much drama going on. The square.
They gotta find it. They gotta invent it if
exactly
if it's not there, you know.
But I don't know. It was pretty crazy.
And
But
I
yeah,
do need to
Oh, I
tell
froze. I
Jeremy-
missed all the fun stuff.
Oh, he was just reminiscing about some cornhole and
He said he would have betrayed you earlier. Actually.
That's true. I can see that. No, that's 100%. Also, he loves getting cornholed. I know that. So makes sense.
Well, I do need to tell Jeremy something. So, Jeremy, we were on the same team with the $1 Million Challenge. You were my leader. But what you don't know, I don't think, is that after we survived the ball catching challenge, which, by the way, we had a terrible plan. We had just had a terrible plan for that challenge, right? But I told myself, you know what? I've got to be more vocal, because I traded tokens to get that challenge. I'm like, you know what? If there's any skill, this is obviously what's happening. We knew that. That was one of the few that we knew. And I said, this is my chance to shine if there's any of them. And so, but after it only lasted seconds, right? And I'm like, next time I have got to be more vocal. Like, I've got to step up as a leader. I was in B City, one of the oldest people left at the time. And I said, I can't go down without a fight, right? Like, I didn't step up loud enough in the ball catching challenge. And so when we got to picking a leader, Jeremy, I realized something was happening. And what was happening, and I don't know if you know this, but we had a ton of people volunteering to go up there. And I realized pretty quick that, you know what, I'm doomed. If they make it up there, I'm doomed. And y'all,
because anybody who's nominating themselves doesn't have it out, doesn't have it.
That's how I looked
Is
at
that
it.
right?
Yes. In addition to the
100%,
fact that I had been around these folks since Vegas, and I had really gotten to know them and see how they acted, you know, on camera, when it was in their face, off camera, with me, with other people. And some people had never spoken to me effectively. Here they are nominating themselves to be up there, but I'd seen them, right? I'd seen them in front of the camera and that sort of thing. And Jeremy, and people have asked me a lot about you, Jeremy. And one of the things I told him is that, you know what, in that, you were the only one that didn't nominate yourself. You were nominated by your peers and by people that believed in you. And in my mind, what means maybe more than anything is loyalty and actions. And you know what? People can say what they want to about you, but you went up there and you did it. You did it. And what more could people say? Like, there's no room for anybody to say anything after that. And then after that,
no one
you went in the
cubes.
You, Jeremy. Yeah. And then after that, he went in the cubes. And if he had any bone in his body that was manipulative, it could have come out in the cube, but it didn't. You did not try to play that to your advantage in any way whatsoever, nor did the other ones either. And to me, that says everything. Like, there's no room for doubt. Are you genuine? And plus, I also reminisced, Jeremy, about the first time I met you, we were on a bus, and I just got to talking to you, and you're kind of quiet, sitting back there by yourself. We might have been on our way to B City. And then we prayed together. You offered to pray for me after the cubes, because I was pretty torn up after the cubes. And at this old country song that came to mind, I used to like. I said, yeah. I was like, Jeremy, that I really appreciate that, man. But I'm kind of like that old country song right now. Me and Jesus, we got our own thing going right now. So I'm gonna pass. But I really appreciate you, man. And that meant a lot to me. So Jeremy, you were loyal. You did what you had to do. And to me, actions, I mean, they just speak louder than words. And I wanted to make sure you knew that, Jeremy.
I appreciate it, brother. Really.
It's beautiful.
Tim, can you talk a little bit more about why you were so broken up after the cubes? I'd love to hear.
And for like your defense for floor 4, it was really hard. Like, we had some good leaders on floor 4, but certain people wouldn't quiet down, and they just had this loud, manic energy that was trying to like forcefully take control. And in turn, like any chance that we had to strategize by someone better like you or Jeff or Jordan, we had some like people that used to play some, pretty professional ball, and a young kid just tried to steal the crowd. So that was stressful.
Well, and part of what played into that was, nobody was willing to hurt anybody's feelings either, right, at that time. And so in hindsight, what we should have done, we should have said, hey, Jordan, even if I wasn't one of them, we clearly had some people that would have dominated at the challenge. And we could have just picked out 4 or 5 of them and say, hey, go get it. And they would have lasted way longer.
Oh my gosh,
it would have been
so
the
much
easiest
longer.
athletic endeavor they had done their whole lives, right? And they would have lasted way longer than necessary.
We had too many people in the way.
Yeah, right.
And way too many people.
And we should have just said, okay, all the rest of the people
Hold the ball.
move to the side and cheer. That's all the best way you can
Hold the
contribute
ball.
right now.
Hold the ball.
But we weren't willing to hurt anybody's feelings, and everybody was just talking at the same time. And I knew, and I thought I was goner, and I was like, man, that was so hard for me, Brent, because I was there up on top of those towers. And that's when I had this very unique experience for the first time for me. Because one, I was thinking, how can I tell my kids I got eliminated on a catch the ball challenge? Like, there's not going to be another challenge this entire game that's more in my wheelhouse. Like,
You're not going to hear the end of that. Yeah.
No, I'll never hear the end of that. Like, this is humiliating. This is the worst. And all their little buddies running around my neighborhood, like they're going to be laughing at me. They're going to be throwing dodgeballs at me, calling me nicknames. Weird things. I mean, like, it's going to be horrible. But I also was like, this is just the worst. I can't believe it's over already. And it was only seconds long, but then we were up there and it was hours. On TV, it lasted no time. But in reality, it lasted all night. They didn't get to do the next challenge until the next day. And that next day, by the way, Jeremy, I don't know about you, it was one of my best days in the whole show because I knew I was safe. I knew I could relax during that next night. I could do whatever I wanted to, cornhole, whatever.
So nice.
Yeah. But then we turned green. We didn't know what was happening. They reviewed the footage, we turned green. And the unique experience that happened to me was this, that here I was, and within a span of a few hours, I had one of the worst moments of my life, followed by one of the best moments of my life. And I realized nobody from my real life knows anything about any of this. They don't know anything about my worst moment. They don't know anything about my best moment. And I have no way of telling them or letting them know. And I don't know when they're ever going to find out. It's only surrounded by these new people. And this is why I've told everybody, this is part of why these folks became my friends and my family. And it felt real and it felt genuine. And I believe that it was. And I felt that it went outside the scope of their algorithms.
Yeah.
What we went through in Vegas, how we bonded together, and how that transferred over to Beast Games, I feel like was beyond the scope of what they could have predicted.
Right.
And I think that showed.
Speaking to that, I think in the Vegas stuff, right, all the bonds that we're creating, like my boy Ezekiel and Christine and Kate and all the other guys that I mentioned earlier, right? We all survived. Like I said, we didn't lend our energy to the nonsense just happening all the time around us. We were just there. We were just us. And we all survived, every one of us, to Canada, right? We all made it to Toronto. And a few of us were eliminated.
That's where Beast City was, right?
Right.
Yeah.
A few of us were eliminated on the everyone drops at the same time, right? That game, but most of us were eliminated on the exact same day. It was that right tower, the Star Tower, right? And we went to Toronto the way we needed to, and we all kind of left at the same time. And I was good with that. Like, I was okay with that. You know what I mean? I wished one of us in that little group would have made it a little further, but to everybody's point, like, it happened the way it needed to happen. I don't think anybody in our little group has any regrets either. Like, we just formed these amazing bonds in the midst of this crazy, chaotic, dystopian. And here's the other thing that was very dystopian, Brent. When we went into Vegas, I don't know if you guys remember this, but as soon as we went into Allegiant Stadium, everybody was told Joe Biden got COVID, right? And so we're in Allegiant Stadium, not seeing the sun for a week, and we don't know if he's alive. We don't know if he's dead, right? We don't know anything that's happening outside of that stupid stadium. And then the day that we got out, every airline was grounded because of some sort of hack, right?
Oh,
and
that
so
was true. Yeah, I remember that.
Right. And so
That was
everybody's there at the hotel. Like, am I getting home? And it was totally just this obscure, thing that happened to all of us. And we all got to share that. And everybody's touched on it a little bit, that trauma bonding that did happen there. It was,
crazy.
I don't know if I would do it again so soon removed from having done it, a Beast Challenge. But I have so many good memories from the thing, from that experience, meeting you guys here, just meeting the folks in the Sunflowers, and it was remarkable. But it was also one of the craziest, worst, most exhausting things I've ever done in my life. But give me a few months and maybe I'll do it again. But for right now,
oh, it definitely looked crazy. I know that Brent and I have a couple more questions for each of you. And
guys, if I could just,
yeah,
if I could just jump in real quick. So I'm at like a party thing with a whole bunch of people right now.
Oh yeah.
It's got to the point now where they've been yelling at my name for a while here, I guess. They paused SNL 50. They won't watch it without me. So
they need your Chris Farley. You go enjoy.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, Rocky.
You're the man, Rocky.
Hey, awesome. David, it was great getting to talk to you a little bit better. Loved meeting you, Brent and CJ. Guys, I love you. I love you, Jeremy, with a passion. The white hot intensity of 1,000 suns, Jeremy. I love you so dang much. And
I love you more.
Tim, I can't wait to try some Squatch moonshine.
Yes, sir. And I'll let you know after my back surgery how everything's going. All right.
All right, I will, guys. Hey, I love you all, man. I'll talk to you guys later. All right.
See you, Rocky. Thank you. So we want to dive into just a couple more questions, from a couple from Brent, a couple from me, and then we've got some.
I just have one more, and I think that is what do you hope people who watched the show will take away from the experience?
I honestly hope they can see that you can be a good person and you don't have to compromise who you are to win. That it is a game, and there are certain times where strategy and gameplay come in. I'm not saying don't be competitive, but
right.
There was definitely a way to play this game where you could be kind and caring and strategic all at the same time. And I think that was proven. And, I really believe that the Lord had his hands in the entire thing. And I just got back from LA a couple days ago, and meeting with some of these guys that I made some really strong bonds with, and we're just again reminiscing and just sharing stories of how all of these little parts and pieces just flowed together. And at the core, there was so much integrity that was upheld, and I want people to see that. This could have easily been the other way, where it could have literally been everyone just tearing each other down. It not needing to grab on to the small amounts of drama, but it would have been everywhere because there is that much money on the line. And I think again that the top 60 players showed really top 10, top 6, like just a wonderful, wonderful blend of people that I hope can continue to inspire the world in their different ways, from Jeff, chasing down a cure for his son's medical condition, to Tawana, trying to chase down and start a home for those women engaged, trying to help his family and, continue his career as an EMT, and, just so on and so forth. That's what I'm hoping they can take from it.
Yeah. I think Jeremy, you nailed it, man. I think the takeaway from this that I hope the average viewer sees is the humanity in the show, right? I've never been a part of something like this, right? Again, I was never even trying to get on the show. I have no idea how I got on the show, but I got on the show, right? And just the amount of authenticity, genuine connections, just people being real, was prevalent. It was everywhere. And I hope that people can see through the slick editing, right? See through TV world and actually kind of dive into, wow, these were, because again, we would play a game. The game was maybe 30 seconds, and then you would have a day, 24 hours just to get to know people and sit with people and understand where they come from and their backgrounds and their children and stuff like that. It was a lot. It was heavy. There was a heaviness to it, because there was a lot of people that quit their jobs to do this show. So there was some desperation on some parts and stuff like that. Right. But the humanity of the show, I thought, is what's going to maybe kind of take us to that next level. I mean, yes, it's Beast Games, and we're playing a game show for money, and all of the people at the top are watching 2,000 people run around and be crazy and do crazy things for money, right? That's what the show is. But to Jeremy's point, to everybody's point, right? It was these deep-seated connections, getting to know these people on a personal level and know their story, right? And getting to cheer for them. Like, if I don't win this money, I'm going to be good because I know that Tim's going to be good. And I know that Jeremy's going to be good. And I know that Rocky's going to be good. And I know that these people are going to be good to some degree, right? I've never seen that on any other show, right? Every other show is just very cutthroat, and I hate that guy and I hope that guy goes down and that kind of thing. For me, it wasn't that. It was much different. And hopefully we met some new upper echelon of how game shows should be played. I don't know, maybe I'm just talking, but for me, it was that, right? It was that we protected the humanity of the show. Like when Jeff, we're doing spoilers, right?
Yes.
When Jeff won that on the very first pull, I cheered.
Unreal.
I cheered.
I cried. My daughter and I cried. We were like, what is happening?
It was phenomenal. It was the way it needed to end, right? It was the absolute way that show needed
100%.
to end. And it galvanized some things in me. Like, heck yeah, maybe if I would have screwed somebody over, it wouldn't have ended that way. And we wouldn't have got the ending that we all needed. So yeah.
There was an integrity and authenticity that just sort of carried through Jeff, the whole time. You knew that you could trust him. You knew that he was deserving of that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And no editing could have taken that away.
Agreed. That's his character through and through. And I do want to jump in here on that note. Like, Jeff and I are incredibly tight. That's probably our closest connection from the show. He's just a true brother. And in actually a couple of days, him and I are flying out to Death Valley, and we're going to rock across the state of California to continue to raise awareness and funds. We're going to be making daily content for his social media channels. I run a small film and media company when I'm not doing the polar bear stuff, and we're going to go out because even with his win, that's still just a splash in the bucket.
Sure.
It's going to be 30+ million after some of the science gets done. So maybe another 10 million for the scientists to try to figure out a way to make it through the blood-brain barrier, then another 30 million for clinical trials. So the way it's going to work is daily videos, and that every night we'll check how much money was donated, and we'll correlate that into how much weight we're rucking the following day. And we're going to try to attempt to do a marathon every day until we go from Death Valley into the ocean on the other side of California. So that's coming up. So be in prayer about that. And if you guys could help share that awareness.
Sounds like the real Beast Games right there.
Well, and that's it. It's this understanding that, actions need to be done. The Beast Games were amazing, but that's what they were. They were games. And there's a really good chance that we can find a cure for these children. And now it's time to go to work. And when I say the Lord had his hands orchestrating this entire show, I mean, the right man won and is using it the right way. So instead of a bigger house, a fancy vacation, a brand new car, we're putting on weight vests, and he's going to go put the rubber to the road to continue to use this thing that could be self-glorifying to lift up others. So yeah, a better man couldn't have won. And David, to your point, each action had had a reaction, the way Tim played, the way you played, the way I played. It was the way it needed to be.
That's phenomenal. You got my full support, brother.
Yeah, and we definitely want to
mine
share
too.
that. So I'll be getting in touch with you after the show, Jeremy. Make sure we can put that out there with all our future shows and show descriptions and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Thank you, brother.
I will
really
say
appreciate
that as I mentioned earlier, I don't watch much TV. I don't let my kids watch much TV. My kids had never heard of Mr. Beast until Tim was going on Beast Games. And so that's when we started researching that a little bit more. My kids don't do YouTube. They don't do anything really. They get a little bit of PBS Kids every once in a while. So I was very nervous about letting them watch Beast Games. Was this going to be something kid friendly? What were my kids going to be exposed to that they have not yet been exposed to in this world? I do keep them in a little bit of a bubble right now because I can, and that's my choice. And I'm afraid of all of the things that they might learn too early. So watching Beast Games, I really expected some ugly behaviors. I really expected cutthroat, throwing people under the bus. And that never happened. And instead, there were a few, but they definitely portrayed those as kind of the bad guys. And so my kids could see the difference between the bad guys and the good guys. And instead, my kids got invested in these people who were genuinely good people and watched them sacrifice themselves for the better of others. And it truly was not how I think Mr. Beast designed the show. I don't think that they expected what happened to happen. So it was beautiful to see when somebody is trying to control your behaviors, trying to make you make the bad choice, that everybody kind of bonded together and said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to be the best version of ourselves. And it was a really beautiful thing to watch with my kids. So thank you to all of you for making those choices. I want to tap into real quickly, Jeremy. You went from everybody's hero to everybody's villain on this show. And I don't know if that was editing or that was manipulation on the part of a few. Explain to us how that happened, because as a viewer, all we saw was you being your true self, and it didn't come out as a villain to any of us. But next thing you know, it was being portrayed on the show that everybody was out to get you.
Yeah, it was really interesting because there is the edited reality and the perceived reality and then the actual reality. And that game was very, very heavy. And I just remember early on in that day, as you know, we did the scavenger hunt and holding the ball, all these things. I just kept going, oh my gosh, I actually don't want to win a game. I don't want to have the responsibility of choosing. And, you know, I'm praying, and I've got, you know, probably my top 5 that I would like to bring, but just didn't want that burden. And was like, hopefully, you know, it's an individual game I can win, and, you know, or maybe a friend will win and bring you along. But it was kind of like the tower challenge again. You know, even before I had time to do anything, as soon as that challenge started, people are chanting my name on the other side of the helicopter pad. And it was an overwhelming feeling of, you know, gratitude and love. And people were so willing and eager to give me their coins, you know, which meant a lot to me. I did not take that lightly. And I knew instantly that decision would not be my own, that whatever 5 people I wanted to choose earlier, I couldn't freely choose, because this wasn't a game that I had won. This was a game that was freely given to me. And I must have received 75 or 80 coins rather quickly. Again, I never asked for any. I never was saying, everybody give me your coins. This is how many I have. This is how many I need. No, if you'd like to give me your coin, I will gratefully receive it. And people are now, after the 80, there's desperation and people are begging, and it's still hard. There's 115 of us left in the city, and there's still people I haven't made bonds with at this stage. And well, why should I give you my coin? I'm like, I'm not going to try to convince you. If this is something that you would like to do, I'm happy to do it. And I'm going to try to see what I can do to make this as fair as possible. And I'm going to pray about who I'm going to choose. And earlier in the day, a contestant came up that was a female and super nice, and we're good friends. And she's like, look, if I win, I would take you. And if you win, I would love for you to take me. And I said, well, I really, really appreciate that. And just know you don't have to do that. If that's what's on your heart, that's your choice. But to be honest with you, I'm not going to pick you because you are going to this private island. I'm a happily married man, and I know the way the world works and the way the internet works. And I don't want there to be any falsely perceived realities of, well, Jeremy picked these women because there's a deeper relationship to them or something like that. And again, that is a bold thing to say, but I care about my wife more than anybody else. This is my family. This is my ride or die. We've been best friends for 11 years, and then we've been married for 12. And I wanted to honor that in the best way that I could. And that now around coin, 85 is being misportrayed. Jeremy hates women and he's a creepy cult leader and all of these things. But the show makes it sound like there's so many people doing that, but there was like 7. And, they're being very dramatic and very loud and very hypocritical. You look at Mia, who won the island, trying to give me a hard praying and following the Lord's leading. And then she does the exact same thing and wins an island. The Lord led her to the right case and she saw it. And I did the same thing when I got on the helicopter pad. I felt the weight of this situation and not trying to be dramatic, but saying, Lord, I need to hear from you. And in my personal life, when I am in a situation where I'm struggling, I receive counsel. I receive support from people of integrity, people that I can trust to help carry this weight with me. And I reached out to the people the Lord put upon my heart, which was Gage, because we had spent time in the cubes together and truly have seen each other's character. And just, I know the plan, like God has just such good things in store for him. And my buddy, Jeff, again, we've been close since Vegas, and an incredible man of integrity. And I wanted him to be by my side. And again, if there was anybody there that deserved this win, it was Jeff. And then I prayed and I gave them each a ticket and saying, okay, well, if there's a big clamor now that everyone wants a woman brought and they're, feeling left out. And it's like, well, maybe Gage or Jeff will pick a female and we can appease that random order of these. And I did not persuade them in any way to choose. I just said, pick who you want to choose. And Gage picked David, a guy I'd never met. No idea who he was. Guy looks just like Willy Wonka from the newest Willy Wonka movie, but I had never seen him before. And so I was like, great, the randomality of it is actually working. And then Jeff picks my great friend Patrick, and my heart was actually pretty filled. I was like, I really wanted him to be here, but I selfishly couldn't pick him. And I said I would bring a woman reluctantly just to try to be fair. And the Lord put Daphne on my heart. And earlier in the episode, during a counting game, she dropped her ball and started counting out loud and, throwing people out of sequence. And, people got rubbed the wrong way. And, her lifestyle and my lifestyle are different, but the Lord had her on my heart in such a way to just show love and grace to the one that needs it right now. So I went over and I gave her a ticket, and everyone was still freaking out. You said you would bring a girl. I'm like, she's right here. And you're just mad because it wasn't you. And it was a stressful situation because now there's less helicopters. It's going into the night. People want to move on. And, at one point I literally dropped to my knees and everyone's watching and screaming and yelling. And Mr. Beast is right there saying, you've got like 5 minutes to do this, dude, or you're not leaving in the helicopter. I'm like, well, Lord, I need to hear from you. So I just dropped to my knees just to shut us up. Typically in my prayer life, I don't go to my knees, but I'm like, Lord, I need to remove all of these distractions. And this is what he put upon my heart. And again, Gage got 3rd place and went home with $1 million on a coin flip. That coin was in our cube. He flipped tails in the cube. I flipped tails in the cube. That's saved him. Coins were gifted to me on the helicopter. That token, that golden ticket got him to Panama. And then again, he flips tails to double the pot to $10 million. which then goes to my buddy Jeff, who again was on Team Yellow. I could have eliminated him on our tower. And again, we helped each other through Vegas and all of these other challenges. And then I give him that ticket again. And then the Lord speaks clearly into his heart about what case to get. So again, I know the internet blew it up because of the edit, and they made me look like a religious freak. You call me a religious freak all you want, but it's about my relationship with Jesus Christ that I'm not going to be bashful about, and I'm not going to be quiet about. I know how he has delivered me from my past and shown me so much love and grace. So why would I take that light and put a cover on it? The Lord tells us to shine that light and that love. And in these moments, I just feel so honored that I was able to listen to the leading of the Lord, when it would have been so much easier to hit a button and to take $1 million. It would have been so much easier just to pick my top 5 friends and not to seek him earnestly. But I would never regret that. And often those that need the Lord the most get the most pushback because they're being confronted by themselves and they don't like it. And again, I'm not going out to try to make anybody uncomfortable. I wasn't going out trying to force people to become a Christian. I was just openly sharing my love with everybody that I could and just following the leading of the Lord. But there was some pretty nasty messages out there. There was a lot on Reddit, and people finding our phone number, people messaging my wife and saying, oh, you need to divorce this man, he's such a creepy cult leader. People saying this man should never have children, and just nasty, terrible things. But again, at the end of the day, I went into this game knowing who I am, and I never compromised that for this game, and I left this game knowing who I am still. And the haters can say whatever they like, and guess what? They're not going to like it, but I'm going to still be praying for them because they need it. So
people are often threatened by those who know exactly who they are. So cute, Brent singing, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine." Heard that in church a few times with Brent in the past couple of years. David, what was your thought watching this all play out at home? Because you were gone by the time Jeremy was getting on the helicopter, right? So was you were watching it. What was your take?
I got eliminated episode 2, so the Towers game.
Yes.
Our team didn't make enough shots in the giant beer pong game. Honestly, I thought that again, this show was one of the things that could expose people, right? You could be the villain, you could be a hero, right? Those kinds of things. And early on, I was telling folks, because left to my own devices, I'm an introvert. I would rather go into my room and light my pipe and read a book and whatever, right? I'm in school right now for my MDiv. So that's kicking my butt too. I would rather do stuff like that, but I can flip a switch too. However, going into these games, I didn't want anything to do with the camera. I didn't. I'm like, hey, go interview that guy. They're much louder and they're funnier, and this guy's crazier. Go interview them. Like, I run a wellness program for my fire department. That's not that cool on TV, right? But go interview them. And so I tried to avoid all the cameras and stuff like that. And I tried to, the rest of these guys, just be me and give myself to the people that were around me. And if I had a chance to, if I knew that I had a chance for one of my buddies to make it further in the game, like, hey, you go, I'll take one for the team. I'm going home to a stable job and a good family. I wasn't super desperate like some of the folks that had quit their jobs to do this game, right? I was good. And so watching back, man, I just sat back because my girls were big fans of Mr. Beast. And when I got that first email early on, it's like, you've been invited. I was going to delete it because I thought it was spam. And my daughter's like, no, Daddy, that's Mr. Beast. And I was like, oh, all right, whatever. And I'll name and phone number, and I sent it off. But sitting back, watching it with them, I just felt I felt good. I was not jealous of any of these people at all. I just sat back like with a grin on my face, kind of like I knew a secret that most people don't know. Like, I know that person. Ooh, I know that person. Oh, we shared a meal together in Vegas, that person right there. Oh, that person I did yoga with. Oh, that person led us with a breath work, mindfulness flow. And it was beautiful. Oh, I remember her. She told me her story, and she comes from a really crazy background, and I hope she does well. You know what I mean? So like, just sitting back on the couch watching, I was able to just cheer on these people that, yeah, we didn't know for years, but we got to know them pretty intimately within the time that we were given. And that to me was of the utmost importance, right? And then just sitting back and watching them succeed. My buddy, who the first person I ran into in Vegas, Esteban, the very first person was the guy who took the 450 grand on the pirate ship.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I was so happy for him.
Perfect game.
Right. I walk into, where was I? The Rio, I think I was. And he goes right behind me, and we're like filling out paperwork and whatnot. And we just start talking. And he was salt of the earth kind of person, right? Just a good, genuine, good kid. And he asked me about my family and my girls and my son. And when he took that money, I messaged him real quick, and I was like, bro, I'm so happy for you. I'm so stoked for you. And he told me, he said, oh my God, David, because after that conversation, we didn't see each other in those episodes. He said, oh my God, David, I remember you from Vegas, and I remember you telling me about your daughters and how much you loved your daughters. Right. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, just that small microcosm of this entire production that we were on, that to me was the show. Right. And this is stuff that you'll never see on TV. This is stuff that, is not sexy. This is stuff that nobody will ever see, but we get to tell these stories. Hey, let me tell you a story about this person that I met. Right. And that's what's going to carry on for me. Kind of this legacy. Yeah, it's cool. We were on this show. Like, we're OG Beast Games season 1. Yeah. 771. Right. And, I made a little bit of money and all of this stuff. But the most important thing to me was I protected my integrity. I protected my friends on the show. I didn't hurt anybody. I made some incredible friendships, and I walked away with a pretty incredible story. So how can you go wrong with that? You know what I mean?
And now you're on All Things Unexplained.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go. I want to throw it back to Brent real quick before we close things out. Brent did not do a very good job of promoting himself on this show. So Brent is
I'm not great at
the local
self-promotion.
church.
Yeah.
And truly, he brought me back to religion. And all of his sermons are thoughtful and beautiful and poignant. And you can follow along online. You don't have to live here with us. You can follow him on YouTube. You can look for him at the local church PBO. And I promise you won't regret it. It's been so great. So Brent, watching Beast Games and watching what happened to Jeremy specifically, what did that tell you about our world in terms of how people feel about and perceive faith?
That's a great question, CJ. I think it hit a lot of things for me. I think in particular, understandably, there is an inherent distrust of religion, an inherent skepticism, sometimes cynicism, because of the ways that faith has been used to exploit, to manipulate the whole colonialist impulse, where whole peoples were wiped off the map in the name of Jesus, and where even still harm is done to people in the name of Jesus. And I think that has left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, understandably. And so I think that's what it kicked up for me, Jeremy, when there was the drama, whether perceived, edited, perceived or not. Yeah, and just a deep sadness, knowing, as you all have talked about, the integrity of people, knowing the ways that that for me and so many people that I have the privilege of caring for and shepherding, live out their faith for the healing, the betterment, the beauty of this world. Like, there is so much possibility. And part of my job, I feel, is just to invite people to take a second look, just as you did, CJ, at what's possible. I think about Jesus's words a lot of, like, you have heard it said, but I say to you. And I feel like so much of my work is that same sort of framework. You have heard it said that Christians are a bunch of hypocrites. You have heard it said that followers of Jesus are just it's late. I'm tired, and I've already preached once today. But but I say to you that that there's hope, there's possibility. I say to you that the worst thing is not the last thing. I say to you that actually there is beauty, there is goodness, there is truth in this world. If we would open ourselves up to that possibility and create space for it. And I think sometimes the most courageous act of faith is just giving it another look, is just showing up, is just giving it a shot, and I don't take that lightly, nor do I take that for granted. And so, so that's sort of what it kicked up for me, was just that deep sadness. But I do hope, as we have talked about tonight, the ways that the goodness shines through, the ways that the redemption shines through, the ways that the community and collaboration and integrity and authenticity shine through, might invite people to say, there might be something to this Jesus guy after all, and so yeah.
Beautifully stated. And as you said, the worst thing is not always the last thing. And hopefully that's true for everybody that participated in Beast Games, that they've got something else coming from it. David, sorry.
No. I was just going to, Brent, that was beautiful, man. And to your point, and Jeremy even spoke about this earlier, was when we weren't concerned with the games and we were just sitting with each other and doing our morning routines, right? The breath work, the yoga flows, the prayers, all that stuff. There were so many people that were like, I'm super lost right now, but this makes sense to me. Can I be a part of this? Right. And we're like, yeah, absolutely. Sit down. What's your name? Tell us your story. That it was again, in the midst of this crazy Amazon Prime $150 million production, those sacred, holy, liminal spaces where I felt like I was in my element, right? The games were cool, and I have no regrets doing the games. But it was those things like, oh, let me tell you about this person.
Yeah. That was the moment you came alive a little bit. That was the moment that felt real and tangible for you.
Absolutely. In the midst of this.
And non-manufactured. Yeah.
Right. Right.
When all of it was intended to be.
It was beautiful.
I didn't mean to cut you off or put words in your mouth. I'm sorry, I got excited.
No. That was exactly it. Like how do you find holy moments in a TV production?
But see, that's the beauty of it. Like, I can speak for myself, at least, that I know when you take the time to seek the Lord, He's always right there. And these moments are available. Oh, looks like my camera died, guys. Sorry about that.
Yep.
That's okay. We still hear you.
Perfect. But yeah, those moments are available when we bring ourselves to them.
God, is that?
And I feel like a lot of people with the distractions of the world out made it easier to hear from them.
Yeah. And Jeremy, to your point, You were a facilitator of that. You helped people find some normalcy, some semblance of normalcy within the chaos, right? I felt like our group did a little bit of that as well, pretty well. And that's no small thing, man. Yeah, it was silly. Yeah, it was a game show. Yeah, 2,000 people running around to get as much money as they could. But what a story to say that to some degree we were facilitators of some people having a sense of belonging, right? People that didn't have a people group. And then having a sense of normalcy in the midst of it. I think that's a pretty remarkable story to tell. And I think we should tell that story more often.
And that helped me get through Vegas. And not a lot of people know this, but David, and I think I saw Jeremy on the basketball court a couple of times in B City. But something that I always did as a player and as a coach for many years was we always did the Lord's Prayer before every game, right? And for some reason in Vegas, and this was just a very authentic thing for me, and for some reason in Vegas, before I did that first challenge, it felt equally as stressful as any basketball game I'd ever been in. I was like, I feel like I need to do the Lord's Prayer here. And so that right before the boulders, me and one or two other people, that's it, we did the Lord's Prayer. But unbeknownst to me, people noticed that. People noticed. And then later, one thing that helped me out with my haircut, later people would remember my head and they would find me and they would walk up to me and they're like, and I'll never forget this one lady. She came up to me in between a couple of the challenges when we were just loitering around in the food area, It's just like, you know what? I never thought that I would come on a television show like this and find somebody praying. I never thought I would find that, and I won't in on it the next time. I'm all right. Let's go. And I'm no minister or preacher by any stretch of the imagination, but I can do a good Lord's Prayer before a ball game or a competition. And you know what? By that fourth challenge, before we went on those platforms, there must have been over 100 of us gathered to do the Lord's Prayer, and it was just simple, and it was a few minutes, but it eased people. It put them at ease. It brought them closer together, and nobody asked about anybody's backgrounds or their specifics or what they technically believed in. Nobody got offended. And we asked everybody, and we're like, hey, just come on, be a part of it. We welcome you. We're just trying to survive this together. It doesn't matter what your background is or what you believe or anything. Just come on, be with us. And they did. They just stepped in there and then, like I said, by that fourth one, we were all holding hands in a giant circle. And if anybody didn't want in there, that was fine too. It was okay. And I found that was a really moving thing for me to see the power of just a simple prayer there.
Yeah. I mean, you said it well, like there was so many people just seeking it, and that's how it started. The whole thing from Vegas on for me as well.
And David hit the nail on the head when he said everybody needed a sense of belonging. They needed a community to belong to. And that's often what brings people to church, is that community. So as we are approaching our 2-hour mark here, I want to just get one final piece from each of you. If you could tell me one thing you learned about yourself on Beast Games, and then where people can follow you in the future. So David, I'll start with you.
Oh gosh, one thing I learned about myself. That's
or
such a
reaffirmed about yourself.
I always come from so we just said it, right? Community. I believe that we were made by community for community, right? And early on in my Beast Games experience, again, I had this weird, I've got a few days to get in and get out. I got stuff to do. So I wasn't trying to make friends by design because I didn't want to hurt people, right? But what I feel like what was kind of the people that I did meet there, they saved me all over again, if that makes sense. Because I wasn't expecting that. Because I wasn't trying for it, right? I had this limited window. And that to me, it was like, it just reiterated the beauty and the majesty of people, right? With no pretense. Because we love to introduce ourselves like, okay, Brent, what do you do for a living? And let me judge you real quick so I can put you in a box and figure you out, right? There was none of that, right? And so these people who I just utterly fell in love with early on, man, I was just beaming the whole time. Like, I might be the luckiest person here today in this stadium playing these silly games because of these people that I met. And I wasn't even trying to. And shame on me for not trying to, right? It just came upon me. Emily just grabbed my arm and she says, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you to the center of the stadium, and we're just going to talk, and we're just going to get to know each other. And that's how the Sunflowers were birthed, as it were. When we all got eliminated, a few of the producers and most of the Wranglers came up to us and they were like, we were watching you guys. I don't know if you knew this, but we were watching you guys. Every single one of us were watching you guys, and what you guys did was pretty special. And so that to me, like, shame on me for not being the first thing I should have done, right? But in essence, it was inevitable, right? It happened. I love people. I'm a lover of people. And I think that is my downfall to a degree. But you'll never go wrong with loving people and inviting people into your circle and learning about other people and hearing their stories, and just excusing the ego and the hubris and the prerequisites of what do you do for a living, those kinds of things, and just loving people where they're at for who they are. And it was powerful. That was power in essence,
Yes.
right? So.
Absolutely. And then David, do you have any social media or anything that people can follow? Do you want them to follow you?
I mean, sure. I just searched you up, Brent, and I just friended you on Facebook.
Yay.
For those of you that are watching, Facebook is where the old guys go to hang out, I suppose.
Wait, you're not on MySpace?
That's where I'm at. MySpace, top 5 friends right here.
Who are you calling old? I'm also just wondering.
I'm on Instagram. You can follow me at the David Myers. You can search me on David Myers on Facebook. I do, on my off time, I'm in a band called Of Light and Shadow, and I write songs. Yeah, a band called Of Light and Shadow. These are songs that are very personal. I used to be in a band, actually that band right there, Old Man Shattered, and we used to tour the country. We used to play with every band you can think of and play every venue, and it was great and it was wonderful until you have kids and you got to go do something that makes money for them and supports them. But now with my job, right, I work a very heavy job. I see a lot of things. I experience a lot of things as a firefighter and a first responder. And so the band that I do now, Of Light and Shadow, it's more of it's just for me. I just write and I put it out. I don't care if anybody listens to it. I don't care. I write for me and what moves me. And so most of these songs are stories of things that I've gone through: depression, anxiety, the divorce of my wife, but we never actually got divorced, and a few other, just kind of life experiences that I've gone through. And so I do that, and that's more a catharsis for me, right? It's more therapeutic for me as I do the job that I do, and I'm able to create something because I see a lot of death. I see the ends of people and the ends of buildings, so I want to create something and put it out there. And so that's what I do, and they can follow me on the music side too if they're so inclined. But
sure, wonderful. I'll definitely check it out. It's interesting you say that you went in there not wanting to make friends because you didn't want to hurt anybody. That was definitely Tim's motive too. And I'm shocked how many bonds he formed, because he would literally break my leg if he thought it would help him beat me in volleyball. So the fact that he didn't do anybody dirty is shocking to me. All right, Tim, tell us something you learned about yourself.
Well, first of all, it came out a few times. David saw a little bit of that on the basketball court, and Jeremy saw
No way. You were gracious. You were gracious.
Oh,
I don't believe that.
And Jeremy saw a little bit of that on the cornhole board. Listen, Jeremy, one of my funniest moments of the whole Beast game situation was one time I was out there playing cornhole, and me and Corey, the former pro wrestler, we played Nolan, and he teamed up with somebody else, and we just completely clobbered him. Well, I did. Corey was there, but no, we were in
so
a really
gracious.
tight.
He's just so gracious, David.
So hey, Corey, I tell you, look, Corey could smash me like a rotten pumpkin if he wanted to, but in the wrestling ring. But I'm not going to wrestle him. But no, we were playing a serious cornhole match out there one time, and at some point I noticed that the security guard on the towers was watching, and and I said something to him like, "Hey, why don't you come out here and play with us?" And I could tell he thought about it. He's like, "Nah, they won't let us out there. They're not going. Amazon won't let me come out there." And I'm like, "Okay, well, something changes. Come on out here." And we keep playing, and my team was getting beat. We made a big comeback, and it got tied up. The game had lasted for a while, and then out of nowhere, I heard somebody yell out, "What's the score?" And it was the security guard off the tower. He had been entertaining himself and watching our cornhole the whole time. But I'm Dr.
And
Mounce.
that's what you learned about yourself?
It really is. That
Just
I
had to get that little aside in there, huh?
And we're in the Natty Light Cornhole League in our neighborhood. So I've been through some epic cornhole battles. So I knew I could stand the test of time in the cornhole in B City. But no, I tell you, for me, one thing I've been afraid of since I've had kids is that I've been afraid, it's like the Bruce Springsteen song, Glory Days. Like, have I lived them all? And have my kids, like, all they got is my rogue stories, and that's it? Is that all there is? And what I've learned about myself is that truly now I know my best years are ahead of me. It was the most epic thing of my life. And it was now. It was now. I'm not even going to say how old I am, but it was now. And my kids, they watched it, and they're in awe of it.
Yeah.
And my son commented one time, like, "This is the number one show in the world. That many people have seen my dad on TV." And that was my motivation. And I think that's the people that got to know me. That's why they knew they could trust me, because I wasn't there for money. I was there. Well, I also really, truly believed in my heart. And I think CJ knows this too, that I thought I could win it all.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to make it. I was going to try to go as far as I could. And I was there for my kids to see me on TV and see how far I could make it. And I found out that, wow, I've got some great times ahead of me. And one thing I've said since then is I said, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to live, or try to live, every day like I'm main character in a movie. Like, I'm going to try to go do main character stuff, right? That's how I'm going to live. That's how being in Beast Games felt like. It felt like I was in one of the main characters in a movie. And it was so hard to leave that. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have to leave it. I can carry a little piece of that with me every day from here on forward. And I can go out there and try to make that happen.
Awesome.
Main character energy. I love it. Yes.
All right, Jeremy, to you, friend.
Yeah, it was an incredible experience, and I think it was confirming, just again in myself, a lot of the character that I had. It was extremely exciting to be able to not be tempted by that $1 million. Like, I put my word on something, and I went up there, and proud to say that there was no temptation. And again, it was just confirmation, which was cool. And again, just the idea that if we will make space to hear from God more clearly in our lives and remove the distractions of the world that don't matter, that true bonds and relationships can be made. And to strive to do that, we're all super busy and stuck on our phone for the wrong reasons, doom scrolling or whatever. But it's like, no, there's a lot of connections that can be made right in front of you, and then relationships that deserve to be fostered that we've met in, Beast City and the Beast Games, and how truly your world can change in just such a short amount of time. I live a pretty non-typical life, and I do get to experience some of these microchasms in other ways. One doesn't often go live with polar bears and not learn something, but again, just so uplifted by the way the Lord used everything and the integrity of most of the people there, and the love and the respect that was shared. And I do run a small film and media company called the Timber Cross. So if anyone's looking for video work, you can hit me up there. But follow me on social media at Jeremy T. Grant. That's on YouTube and Instagram.
I just followed you.
Oh my gosh, I've made it. I've made it.
Ding.
Ladies and gentlemen, no need to follow me anymore. I hit the tippity top. David is there. But no, I love it, and I will be posting a lot, but I spend a decent amount of time crafting other people's content. And my main focus over this at least next 6 months is going to be helping our buddy Jeff 831 to have a really solid campaign so we can educate the world on his son's condition and make CTD a thing of the past. So getting ready to release a documentary about that. Going to continue to make his content to get his word out there, and I'll be posting stuff for fun along the journey.
And is your Instagram page the best place to follow for that?
Yeah, you'll see more updates on Instagram, and then you'll see some long form content coming up on YouTube as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And
you know what I just realized, CJ?
Oh, did you win another basketball game, or was it ping pong?
No, and look, in all fairness, our friend Jordan did beat me in the finals of the basketball game. But you know what? We got such mutual respect for each other after that. But I digress. But CJ, now at All Things Unexplained, we're friends with the Michael Jordan of penguins, of birding, and we're now friends with the Michael Jordan of polar bearing, and
That's
Jeremy.
Right.
So Noah Stricker with the penguins and Jeremy T. Grant with the polar bears.
Talk about life made. And also, don't bother finding me on social media.
I already followed you.
Too late. David's on it.
I don't know which one you followed me on, because I don't think my X is even active anymore. But
I don't know. It came right up.
Brent, you had a wonderful sermon today, all about the doom scrolling and anxiety and all of the things that we do every single day. So people go listen to that if you feel you need some relief. Where can all of the religious refugees find you?
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yes. That's a great phrase.
It's yours. It's your phrase.
Well, it takes a team. At Instagram at LevyDB, LevyDB. The local church is there too at Local Church PBO, and on YouTube at the Local Church Pittsburgh, and growlocal.church is our website. Growlocal.church. Would love to see you.
Okay.
We say often everybody's local somewhere, so wherever you are part of it. So,
and I have to say to everybody, I knew the local church was for me when I found out that they started their first service in a brewery. I'm like, I'm in. Let's go.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Tim, I'm going to send it to you for final thoughts, and we'll send everybody on their way.
Okay, well, I really appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Thanks to Rocky, thanks to David, thanks to Brent, and thanks to Jeremy, and thank you so much for CJ for being back with All Things Unexplained tonight. You know, Beast Games pushed us to our limits physically, mentally, and yes, even spiritually. But tonight's conversation, if it proved anything, it's that resilience isn't just about surviving. It's about what you learn, what you lean on, and how you rise after the fall. Dystopia isn't just some far-off concept. It's in the choices we make, the systems we accept, and the communities, like David said, that we build. So whether you're training for the next challenge, maybe it's Amazing Race, another Mr. Beast video, or just navigating the unpredictability of life, remember, strength isn't just measured in endurance, but in the connections we forge along the way. Thanks for joining us, and remember, step away from your screens for a little while anyways. Wander into the woods, look up at the stars. You may not find Bigfoot, you may not spot a UFO, but you just might discover something even more extraordinary, yourself. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
All things unexplained.
What's your hot take on Travis Taylor?
I've got an exclusive for you guys if you want it about the Alaska.
We do.
Okay.
Dr. Taylor was revealed to be the chief scientist of the UAP task force with the Pentagon.
So some of that, I think, sir, will save for closed session.